Here we are at the California Democratic Party Convention in San Jose. I'm Brad Pomerance, and we are joined by Miguel Santiago. He is a member of the California State Assembly, and sir, lots of students marching around excited about the 2016 election, but they're also concerned about the cost of attending higher education in California. Community colleges, fairly affordable compared to our sister states, but it still could be expensive.
Yeah, it is, and you know, from my time being on the LA Community College Board and having been president, the number one thing besides fees and tuition that students would continuously approach us about was the cost of transportation, and in particular, there was no higher cost than books. Right. Books by far is the highest cost currently to students, and we want to do everything possible we can to help that situation, which is why we introduced some legislation recently to try to address the issue of books and make community college funding a little bit more affordable for students.
And let's talk about it. There's a program that's known as the Board of Governors Fee Waiver Program, specifically for community colleges. Explain how the program works today.
Sure. So today I'm a student, I walk in, I don't meet a certain financial threshold. What the state will do will allow me to go into community college for free. The community college will still get paid nonetheless for the fee they would have lost out on. What we're trying to do is have the BOG waiver actually cover some of the non-tuition costs like books, because Phi and Bar, when I was on the community college, students would always have a trouble buying the books. And so we want to ensure that if you're having trouble buying the books, that you can have the books and hopefully become a full-time student. That's really why we're trying to do this as well. A full-time student has a much larger, greater chance of graduating or getting a certificate than a part-time student. So we don't want cost to be the inhibitor to why somebody's not a full-time student.
So back me up here though. It does seem as if books are starting to go by the wayside, and we're seeing our text online, on iPads. But those iPads can be expensive as well.
Well, the iPads are expensive, and same with the rights for being able to read the material.
Right.
Because just because now you have it, for example, when I was going to school, the newest technology was getting them on CDs, but the CD came when you bought the book.
Of course. So the question becomes, is your bill broad enough to include expenses as technology marches forward?
Well, at this point in time, we're just focusing on books. And I'm actually glad you brought that up, because actually it's one of the issues that we're going to start to tackle and take a look at as technology improves, how we address that through financial aid.
For example, my daughter, who's in 8th grade, most of her texts are on computer, on her iPad. And so I would hate to see you pass this great program, and yet because of a drafting issue, somehow the electronic version isn't covered.
Yeah. No, and that's a great point. But I think the starting point at least is to begin the conversation about how we address non-tuition or non-fee items when we're starting to approach funding. No doubt about it. Look, we've got a lot of work to do ahead in advance of making community college and education more affordable. The White House has proposed to try to make community colleges free of tuition, and this is one step towards trying to meet those goals.
Let me ask you if you face the following challenge. As you know, California charges $46 a unit for community college. Now that's up from $26 a few years ago, but $46 is the cheapest in the nation. It is 50th out of 50. A good time to be at the bottom. So does that present a dilemma for you, that here you are, we're already the cheapest in the nation, do we need to provide additional relief?
Oh, absolutely, there's no doubt about it. And I mentioned this before, it's non-tuition costs that really burdens a student. Plus, look, when you take a look at some of the poverty federal levels that we take a look at, a family of four at $36,000 a year, $46 a unit becomes quite a bit of money. And then you start multiplying it by, let's say, 4 units as a course, and I wasn't the best at math, but let's just say about 170 per class. That's a lot of money for working families.
But on top of that, an algebra book could be $100 by itself.
Oh, I mean, that's on the cheapest and used. You're talking about 300-400 books. When I was a student, this is really why we proposed this legislation. I was a BOG waiver student.
You were?
Yes, I was. But
Where'd you go to school?
So I went to Moore Park Junior College.
Okay.
I wanted to go to UCLA. I did.
Ultimately.
But I went to Moore Park College because that was one of the campuses that had one of the highest transfer rates.
Smart.
But back to the point. So we were able to get, through the BOG waiver, my fee waived. However, I still couldn't afford books. I still had trouble getting
So what'd you do?
Well, you know, you take out used books, or you figure out systems where you either borrow money from folks and buy books. But look, when I got out of college, I had high levels of debt, and so what we're trying to do is not only make it affordable, but ensure that when students come out, they don't have debt.
But let me ask you then, since you've lived this, How does it inform your work as a legislator?
It absolutely does, because we know that the only way to improve your economic standing and to be a successful participant of this society is to get an education. And so we need to do everything we possibly can to make education more affordable.
Let's talk about President Obama's plan for free community college. It's a bold one.
It is.
It's a bold one. It got the conversation started.
Yes.
I don't know that we're going to see it during his last year in office. But do you believe that free community college is appropriate? A completely free education?
Well, you got to remember, in California, community colleges were free at one time. So the way I look at it, if we can make it free, that would be the best thing that we could possibly do, because the cost of general ed at a CSU or UC system or private institution is incredibly expensive. So we've got to figure out a way, a couple of different things we've got to do. Number one is I do support free community colleges, but I also support trying to get students to do the general ed at community colleges at a much lesser cost. Interestingly enough, you brought up the president. We got a call from the White House, and I'll be presenting.
How cool.
Yeah, it really is cool. I'll be presenting this at their community college roundtable that they're having mid next month. So we'll be up in DC talking about this, which fits perfectly in the president's plan.
So let me ask you then, though, about a pilot program that's already launched in California. I call it the Block Bachelor, after Senator Marty Block.
Yes.
And as you know, there are 15 community colleges in our state that are offering bachelor degrees.
Yes.
And boy, are they a great bargain. Instead of $12,000 a year for 1 year at UC, $7,000 a year for 1 year at CSU, it's $10,000 for a 4-year bachelor degree. Community colleges.
Yeah, no, well, we supported that when I was president of the LA Community College Board, yeah. And in fact, West LA College at the time, I can't speak to it since I've left, but we started moving dentistry programs.
And they
That's
got
exactly it.
They got it.
Yep, absolutely. And some sort of nursing programs, I think at that time we were looking at potentially starting. I hope that they did move forward with it.
Well, here's the challenge, and maybe you can talk to this since you're now in the legislature. When you consider the fact that under the bill, it happened before you got there, but there can be no duplication with CSU and UC. Yeah. And as a result, because CSU and UC has a nursing program, no bachelor can be offered through community college that is a nursing degree. So is that something to consider?
Well, I think you got to take a look at all legislation once you've actually implemented it and see if there's things that need to be fixed up. I mean, certainly I've taken a look at some of the things we did at the community college the first year I was on there, and then later on down the line you have some unintended consequences in some cases, and you come back and fix it up. Look, no doubt that education is a work in progress, but I think what the senator did was a good step forward.
Are you concerned that with the expiration of Proposition 30, or at least portions of Proposition 30, that could impact community college funding to its detriment? Because community colleges did get part of Prop 30.
They did. And just to be clear, the way that they did it, and we hope that the expenditure of Prop 30 continues, because for every dollar that goes into the general fund, you're going to get 40% of it, obviously, that goes to education in Prop 98. So yes, we did get some, and we'll continue to push for more funding. What's mostly missed in the conversation about community college funding, it's a very technical conversation, but about 10.9% of what's inside of Prop 98 actually goes to community colleges. So we're always going to push for more money to go into the general fund, because ultimately we'll get more. And look, I'll tell you, we still have a great need for an extension of Prop 30.
But the governor is not keen on extending Prop 30, at least the sales tax portion of it.
Well, I think he's going to be, yes, I think you're right, but I think that there's going to be some doors open for at least the legislature and other groups to start talking about the need to extend it. Because look, you got to remember that in California you have your highs and lows on your budget. And we want to prepare for the next low, and I think is what we got to take a look at. And even the governor's budget this year still includes monies that are proposed and potentially could pass, like the MCO tax, which draws down about $1.3 billion that it draws down from the federal government. That's still a hole that is not complete, even in this budget.
And you'll come back?
Absolutely. Thank you, Brad.
Miguel Santiago. He is a member of the California State Assembly. We're at the California Democratic Party Convention in San Jose. I'm Brad Pomerance. This is Charter Local Edition.